Hey everyone, in this video, we wanted to briefly cover what we consider 5 things that are hard about relationships. And these are going to be
Only
things,
5?
I know, right? Only 5, but they're kind of like 5 overarching categories. And the reason we just want to bring this up is to put them on your mind because relationships take work. And so these are the things that you need to keep in mind if you want to foster the best relationship you can have either with your current partner or, if you're still on the market, then in someone when you're vetting them to see if they're like long-term potential. And so the first one is going to be the most abstract, and it's your dreams and your goals in life.
That's a big one that I think a lot of people fail to discuss too, like their long-term goals. They jump into these relationships and then they let these chemical manifestations of lust like take over their brain, and they don't hit on the important things. Like, what do you want to do in 5 years?
Yeah, 5 to 10 years, what's your goal? With what you're doing now, what is it you're working towards? Like, ultimately, what are your dreams?
And because larger goals take a lot of little actions, right?
Yeah, they do.
So you can get lost in those little like actions on the daily, right?
Yep. And you want to make sure you're on track. And this also gives you a great way to support one another. Because if you know what each other's goals are, then you can kind of help each other manipulate those smaller actions so that you both stay on track towards the bigger goal. And this isn't just like career, right? This isn't like what you want to do kind of with your life, so to speak, in a career, but it also relates to things like, well, do you want to have a family? Do you want to have children?
Do you want to get married?
Do you want to, do you want to get married? Like, where do you want to live? Do you want to eventually buy a house? Do you want to build a house? Do you just want to rent? Like, what are
we discussed all this like before we even like started dating, really?
Well, yeah, because we were friends on Facebook, and this was just like, for curiosity's sake, these conversations would come up randomly. So it worked out.
Randomly, we were betting each other.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, anyway, but that's our first one is what are each other's big dreams and goals? And that's important for compatibility and to make sure that you're both going to be able to support one another.
Absolutely.
So the next one I would say is more concrete, down to earth, right? So we started up here, and then the next one is down here, and it's what are your needs? What are the needs of each other? And this plays into the idea of like love languages, for example, like how do you perceive
feel love?
Yeah. And so it's great and all to like talk about big dreams and make sure you're both on the right track, but at a more like personal level, what do you each need in order to feel good and get through life and to be the best version of yourself? And are you able to provide that to one another?
Yeah, something for me, I mean, I'll give an example. I need a lot of like alone time, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I can think, because I'm highly introverted. Like, my brain does not work with a lot of social like stimulation. And so I need someone that isn't super needy and doesn't need like constant reassurance from me, because I need to have that for my own mental health.
Yeah, that's a great example.
A lot of people don't know what they need though. So that's the first thing you need to figure out is what are your needs in a relationship, and then express them.
Yeah, beautifully said. So that was our second one. So the third one is kind of related to this, but you don't take the time to figure out how to be secure. Right. So this plays into attachment styles. Everyone kind of falls into one overarching theme of how they relate in their relationships to the other person. And the way they can relate can change from person to person, depending on the interaction. But ultimately, the goal with
But you have one primary attachment style that is pretty steady from childhood on. Like, you develop it, I think, within the first like 6 months of birth, your attachment style. So
yeah, because it relates to it's in your unconscious, and it relates to how you interacted with your caregiver, your primary caregiver.
And I think it has a lot of neural wiring that goes on there.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. But the point is, it's really good to figure out like, what do you fall in? Are you more anxious? Are you more avoidant? when you look at
Fearful avoidant.
subcategories, yeah, fearful, avoidant, dismissive, avoidant, or are you truly secure? And that's the goal, is to work towards security. And you want kind of both people to be aware of what are their attachment styles, because
And what are their downfalls? Yeah.
Because that's going to impact a lot of your behaviors
And the way you argue.
And the way you perceive events.
Yep.
Right? Because it's literally baked into your life outlook. And so being aware of it's the first step to changing it so that you can start to act more secure. And security is important in a relationship.
That's not the whole purpose of a relationship.
Yeah, it's not only gonna bring you more happiness down the road, but it's gonna be more likely that your relationship is actually successful and you don't just end up breaking up or getting a divorce. So those are the first three, and the other two are just, those are like the three big ones, and the other two are just more like throw-ons on that. For example, annoying habits. So everyone has habits that they do, and
I think that can actually like make or break a relationship.
Yeah, it can, but it's also,
I don't think it's just like icing on the cake at all. An annoying habit, like there's certain people, like when I was dating, like if they would eat in a certain way, I know I'm crazy, but like they would smack their fucking mouth. Like, that's like a no. Like, yeah, I can't live with that, and I'm not going to be your mother and like train you how to eat.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, annoying habits can be a make or break depending on the person, but they're also something that you can easily talk about, communicate, and hopefully change, right? Because habits are malleable.
Yeah, but I think that goes into tricky territory of entering into a relationship wanting to change the other individual. That is a fool's game. You're not going to be able to change someone like that.
Yeah, no, I completely.
They have to be like negotiable in the beginning. Like you're willing to put up with certain things, like certain annoying habits.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, but I would argue that wanting to change someone's more applicable to the big three. You can't go into a relationship wanting to change someone's ultimate dreams, wanting to change their needs, and wanting to change their attachment style, because those are all things that really come from deep down inside what they want and what they want to achieve.
Habits can too, though.
But little habits like smacking teeth, what if someone doesn't even know that they're doing it? You point it out and they're like, thank you. And then they make an active effort to change it. It's not the same as saying like, hey, you want to have kids, but I don't. So let's get married and then not have kids. You should change your viewpoint, you know?
I don't know. Some habits are absolutely no. And people get stuck in those habit loops for the rest of their life. Like I
completely agree.
Like a video gamer, I would have never dated one.
Okay.
Like that's a habit that I'm not willing to put up with.
Okay, so yes, I completely agree with you. Some habits are definitely like more hardcore no's than others, but I think that especially if you're already in a relationship with someone, you gotta have the talk, because
if you're already in the relationship, there was something in them that you saw as redeemable.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is some of these habits are super deep ingrained, and if they don't change, they aren't going to change. But you never know until you like have a talk and let them know it's something.
Yeah, I guess I just have like a lot of relationship experience around this too, like of going into a relationship with someone that had really bad habits and trying to change them constantly and telling him and reminding him how these were detrimental to his life, and it still didn't change.
Yeah.
Like that's my point.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important point.
And I went into it thinking he would change his habits. So.
Yeah. And so, I mean, maybe that's the point is, you know, if you're in a relationship, you gotta have these talks, because if you don't have the talk, then there's never maybe they don't know it's an annoying habit for you. Like you need to make them aware. And if you aren't in a relationship but like this person checks off all of your boxes except for one thing, have a talk with them about that one thing, because maybe it's something that could switch and then everything's fine, right? But maybe it's not. I have
very few like non-negotiables too.
Yeah, but maybe it's a non-negotiable form. Like maybe that's something where they're like, no, I can't change that. And then for you, it's like, okay, well, it was a good try. Bye.
Different mismatched lives. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing
means
wrong
nothing
with that.
About either person.
Yep. Okay, and the last one is lack of intimacy. And so This
That's a
one,
big one.
this one kind of plays into needs really, but it's so big it deserves its own category. People need intimacy, but they need different levels of intimacy. And so you need to make sure that your need for intimacy is going to be on the same level as your partner. Because if one of you needs intimacy like every single day and the other one only wants it once a week, that's just going to cause problems. That's going to cause resentment. That's going to cause displeasure. That's going to contribute to fidelity. It's something that you need to establish from the get-go and make sure you're on the same wavelength. And something that you need to make sure stays consistent, because a lot of times people become complacent in their relationships.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, especially after men, I think, become more complacent in relationships, and women lack energy a lot because they start having kids. Like, you start a
yeah, and
family
they have to start doing everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more.
Yeah, but again, this is something where communication is key.
Yep.
Let's use that example. You have kids. The dad becomes complacent and doesn't help out around the house because
it's her job.
Yeah, because maybe he's at work all day and she
Yeah.
decides to stay home, take care of the kids. Well, you might be at work all day, but guess what? If you want to get laid before bed, then when you get home, you better do the dishes and help take a little thing off her plate so that she's not exhausted.
Yeah.
Like,
there's only so much energy people have.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is a big one where basically, again, communicate and make sure that your desires are on the same wavelength, because if they aren't, it's just going to cause problems. And this isn't something that can change. You can't take someone who's like, I only really want to be intimate like maybe once or twice a week, and you can't make them be like, okay, I changed my mind, I'm going to be intimate every day. Like,
it's just different baseline needs.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So don't go into that thinking you can change them, which has been a common theme that we've brought up.
Yep.
So those are our 5 big ones. Is really make sure you're on the same wavelengths in terms of your dreams and life goals, what your needs are, your attachment styles and desire to become more secure, your annoying habits or just habits in general, and then also your desires for intimacy.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's it.
If you like this video, then great. That's what we're trying to do. Maybe give it a like. Please share this video with anyone who you think might also enjoy it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks, everyone.